Welcome to the world of science fiction. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss new stories. Enjoy the listening. Logan's boots echoed against the pristine floor as he strode into the bar, his eyes widening at the stark white expanse before him. The place was unlike anything he'd ever encountered in his galactic travels, a blend of sterile laboratory and futuristic lounge. Sleek, curved surfaces gleamed under ambient lighting that seemed to emanate from everywhere and nowhere at once. He ran a hand through his tousled hair, feeling suddenly out of place in his well-worn spacer's jacket and scuffed boots. The few patrons scattered about were impeccably dressed in shimmering fabrics that seemed to shift colors with each movement. Logan couldn't help but notice they all appeared to be of the same species, tall, willowy beings with iridescent skin in various pastel hues. As he approached the bar, a holographic menu materialized before him, displaying an array of exotic beverages with names he couldn't begin to pronounce. Logan squinted at the unfamiliar script, trying to decipher if any of it was remotely potable for humans. "First time here, Earthling?" The bartender's voice startled him. The being's 4 arms moved in fluid synchronization, mixing drinks with practiced ease. Logan flashed a roguish grin. "That obvious, huh?" The bartender's luminous eyes crinkled with amusement. "We don't get many of your kind in these parts. What brings you to our little corner of the galaxy?" Before Logan could respond, a resounding click echoed through the room. He whirled around to see the bar's entrance seal shut, the previously transparent door now an impenetrable barrier. "What the hell?" Logan muttered, striding towards the exit. He pressed his palm against the smooth surface, searching for any kind of release mechanism. Nothing. A ripple of unease passed through the other patrons. Murmurs of confusion filled the air as they too realized they were trapped. Logan's hand instinctively went to his hip, where his blaster would normally be holstered. He cursed silently, remembering he'd been forced to surrender all weapons before boarding the station. "Ladies and gentlemen, please remain calm." A disembodied voice filled the room, speaking in a language Logan's universal translator struggled to keep up with. "This is merely a routine security drill. Normal operations will resume shortly." Logan's eyes narrowed. Something about this felt off. His years of navigating the seedier parts of the galaxy had honed his instincts, and right now they were screaming that this was no drill. As the other patrons settled back into uneasy conversation, Logan scanned the room, searching for anything that might shed light on their predicament. His gaze landed on a figure seated alone in a shadowy alcove, partially obscured by a shimmering privacy field. Intrigued, Logan made his way over, skirting the edge of the field. As he drew closer, the barrier rippled and dissolved, revealing a sight that made his breath catch in his throat. Before him sat the most striking alien he'd ever laid eyes on. Her skin was a deep, mesmerizing blue that seemed to pulse with an inner light. Cascades of silver hair framed a face of otherworldly beauty, with eyes like liquid starlight. She reclined with feline grace in a chair that seemed to mold itself to her lithe form. Logan realized he was staring and quickly tried to regain his composure. He opened his mouth to introduce himself, but the woman beat him to it. "Well, well," she purred, her voice a melody that sent shivers down his spine. "What do we have here? A lost little human, far from home." Logan's ego bristled at being called little, but he couldn't deny the effect her voice had on him. He leaned casually against the alcove's entrance, adopting an air of nonchalance. "Not lost, sweetheart, just exploring new horizons." He gave her his most charming smile. "The name's Logan, and you are?" The woman's lips curved into a smile that was equal parts alluring and predatory. "You may call me Elia, Earthman, though I doubt you'll have much use for my name." Logan arched an eyebrow. "Oh? And why's that?" Elia rose in one fluid motion, closing the distance between them with feline grace. She circled him slowly, her gaze raking over his form with unabashed interest. "Because," she breathed, leaning in close enough that Logan could feel the warmth of her breath on his ear. "I suspect you'll be too busy screaming to remember it." Logan's pulse quickened, but he forced himself to remain outwardly calm. He'd dealt with dangerous beauties before. This one, for all her alien allure, was playing a game he knew well. "Screaming, huh?" He turned to face her, meeting her gaze with a challenge of his own. "Sounds like my kind of party. But shouldn't we get to know each other first? Buy a guy a drink?" Alea threw back her head and laughed, a sound like crystal chimes in a storm. "Oh, you are an amusing little creature, aren't you? Very well, Earthman. Let's get to know each other." She sauntered back to her seat, gesturing for Logan to join her. As he sat across from her, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was walking into a trap. But damn if it wasn't the most enticing trap he'd ever seen. "So, Logan," Alea purred, leaning forward in a way that accentuated her curves. "Tell me, what brings a human so far from his pitiful little world? Surely there are easier ways to get yourself killed." Logan chuckled, refusing to rise to the bait. "What can I say? I've got an incurable case of wanderlust. The universe is vast and beautiful, full of wonders to explore." His eyes locked with hers, his voice dropping to a husky whisper. "And dangers to conquer." Alea's eyes glittered with amusement. "Dangers, indeed. And do you fancy yourself a conqueror, little human? How quaint." "I prefer to think of myself as more of an equal opportunity adventurer," Logan replied with a wink. "I'm always up for a challenge, no matter what form it takes." Alea leaned back, regarding him with renewed interest. "Is that so? Well then, perhaps we can devise a suitable challenge for you." Her voice took on a sultry edge. "Tell me, Earthman, what are you hiding beneath those quaint garments of yours?" Logan's eyebrows shot up at her forwardness. He'd encountered plenty of alien cultures with different standards of modesty, but this was bold even by his standards. Still, two could play at this game. Now, beautiful," he chided playfully. "A gentleman doesn't strip on the first date. How about we start with names and work our way up from there?" Alea's eyes narrowed, a flicker of something. Surprise? Respect? Passing through them. "You're either very brave or very foolish, Logan of Earth. Most beings would be falling over themselves to comply with my every whim." Logan leaned in, his voice low and intense. "I'm not most beings, Alea, and something tells me you're not used to that." For a moment, Alea's composure slipped, revealing a glimpse of genuine curiosity beneath her haughty exterior. But it was gone in an instant, replaced by her usual air of superiority. "Perhaps not," she conceded, "but don't think that makes you special, human. You're still just a primitive creature, driven by base instincts and desires." Logan grinned, undeterred. "Maybe so. But I'd wager those instincts have kept my species alive long enough to make it out here among the stars. Can't be all bad, right?" Alea opened her mouth to retort, but was cut off by a sudden commotion near the bar. Logan turned to see several patrons arguing heatedly with the bartender, their voices rising in panic. "What do you mean? You can't open the doors," one of them demanded. "This has gone on long enough." The bartender's many arms gestured placatingly. "Please, remain calm. I assure you this is all part of the—" "Enough!" Another patron slammed a fist on the bar, the impact creating a spiderweb of cracks in the seemingly indestructible surface. "We are not lab rats to be experimented on. Open these doors now or I'll—" The being's threat was cut short as a shimmering energy field suddenly enveloped them, lifting them off the ground. Similar fields appeared around the other agitated patrons, effectively neutralizing the brewing riot. Logan tensed, ready for action. But before he could move, he felt a cool hand on his arm. He turned to see Alea, her expression unreadable. I wouldn't if I were you, she murmured, unless you fancy joining them in suspended animation. Logan's eyes narrowed. You know something about what's going on here, don't you? Elea's lips curved into an enigmatic smile. Perhaps. Or perhaps I'm as much in the dark as you are, little human. The question is, what do you intend to do about it? Logan studied her for a long moment, weighing his options. Every instinct told him not to trust this beguiling alien, and yet he couldn't shake the feeling that she might be his best chance at unraveling this mystery. All right, Elea, he said at last. You want to play games? Fine. But let's raise the stakes a little. You help me figure out what's really going on here, and I'll show you just how surprising us humans can be. Elea's eyes lit up with a predatory gleam. My, you are full of surprises, aren't you? Very well, Logan of Earth. Let the game begin. As if on cue, the lights in the bar flickered and dimmed, plunging them into an eerie twilight. A low hum filled the air, vibrating through Logan's bones. He could have sworn he saw Elea's skin pulse in response, but in the dim light, it was hard to be sure. Well then, Logan said, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him. Shall we see what's behind door number 1? Elea's laugh was both thrilling and terrifying. Oh, you delightful fool. You have no idea what you're getting into, do you? Logan flashed her his most daring grin. That's half the fun, sweetheart. Now, are you going to tell me what you know, or do I have to get creative? Elea's eyes glittered with mischief and something darker. By all means, Earthman, show me your creativity. As they faced each other in the dimly lit bar surrounded by the frozen forms of the other patrons, Logan couldn't shake the feeling that he was walking into the most dangerous and potentially rewarding situation of his life. Whatever game Elea was playing, he was determined to come out on top. Little did he know, the true nature of their predicament was far beyond anything he could have imagined. As the first act of their cosmic dance drew to a close, the stage was set for revelations that would shake the very foundations of Logan's understanding of the universe and his place in it. The dim light of the bar cast long shadows across Logan's face as he studied Elea, trying to decipher the enigma before him. The frozen forms of the other patrons created an eerie backdrop, their suspended animation a stark reminder of the bizarre situation they found themselves in. Well, Earthman, Elea purred, her voice a silky caress that sent shivers down Logan's spine. You promised me creativity. I'm waiting. Logan's mind raced, weighing his options. He needed information, but he also needed to maintain the upper hand in whatever game Elea was playing. With a sudden burst of inspiration, he reached for the abandoned drink on the table beside them. First, he said, his voice low and challenging, let's see how you handle your liquor, sweetheart. Elea's eyes narrowed, a flicker of surprise crossing her features before her usual mask of superiority slid back into place. You think you can outdrink me, human? How quaint. Logan grinned, pushing the glass towards her. Prove me wrong. Without breaking eye contact, Elea lifted the glass to her lips and downed its contents in one smooth motion. Logan watched, mesmerized, as her throat pulsed with each swallow. When she finished, she slammed the empty glass down with a triumphant smirk. Your turn, she challenged, sliding a fresh drink his way. Logan matched her, gulp for gulp, ignoring the burning sensation as the alien alcohol hit his system. With each round, the tension between them ratcheted higher. Elea leaned in closer, her breath hot against his ear as she whispered taunts and provocations. Is this all you've got, Logan? She murmured, her fingers trailing along his arm. I expected more from a man who claims to be an equal opportunity adventurer. Logan fought to keep his breathing steady, acutely aware of every point of contact between them. Oh, I'm just getting started. Beautiful. But let's talk about you. What's your stake in all this? Why are you really here? Alea's laugh was musical and mocking. Always so direct, you humans. No appreciation for the art of seduction. She rose from her seat with feline grace, circling behind Logan. He tensed as he felt her hands on his shoulders, kneading the taut muscles there. "You're so wound up," she purred. "Don't you know how to relax?" Logan's pulse quickened, but he forced himself to remain outwardly calm. "Oh, I know how to relax just fine, but something tells me relaxation isn't on the menu tonight." In one fluid motion, he stood and spun to face her, catching Alea off guard. For a split second, her mask slipped, revealing a flash of genuine surprise and something else. Fear? Anticipation? Logan pressed his advantage, stepping closer until they were mere inches apart. "What are you really after, Alea? What's the end game here?" Alea's eyes flashed, a storm of emotion swirling in their depths. "You think you can intimidate me, human? You have no idea who or what you're dealing with." "Then enlighten me," Logan challenged, his voice a low growl. For a moment it seemed Alea might actually answer, but then her lips curved into a predatory smile, and she closed the remaining distance between them. "You want answers?" she breathed, her body pressing against his. "Then take them." Logan's resolve wavered as Alea's lips met his in a searing kiss. It was like nothing he'd ever experienced, electric, intoxicating, and tinged with an alien sweetness that made his head spin. For a moment, he lost himself in the sensation, his hands instinctively moving to her waist. But even as desire coursed through him, a part of Logan's mind remained alert. This was a distraction, a tactic to throw him off balance. With immense effort, he broke the kiss, pushing Alea back just enough to meet her gaze. "Nice try," he said, his voice husky, "but I'm not that easily sidetracked." Alea's eyes widened, genuine surprise evident in her expression. You resisted. How?" Logan smirked, though his heart was racing. "Let's just say I've had practice dealing with irresistible alien temptresses." A flicker of something passed across Alea's face. Respect? Annoyance? Before Logan could decipher it, her usual mask of superiority slid back into place. Well, she said, taking a step back. "Perhaps there's more to you than meets the eye, Earthman." Logan seized the opening. "And there's more to you than you're letting on. What's really going on here, Alea? Why are we trapped in this bar? And don't give me that nonsense about a security drill." Alea's expression turned calculating. She glanced around the room, her gaze lingering on the still frozen forms of the other patrons. "You're right," she said at last, her voice low. "This is no drill, but the truth is far more complex than you can imagine." Logan's eyes narrowed. "Try me." Alea sighed, a sound that seemed to carry the weight of centuries. "Very well, but remember, you asked for this." She led Logan to a secluded corner of the bar, away from the suspended aliens. As they sat, the lighting in their area shifted, creating a bubble of privacy. "This station," Alea began, her voice barely above a whisper, "is not what it appears to be. It's a testing ground, a place where different species are brought together and evaluated." Logan leaned in, his curiosity piqued. "Evaluated for what?" "Compatibility," Alea replied. "Potential for cooperation or conflict. The Galactic Council has been conducting these experiments for millennia, trying to determine which races can coexist peacefully and which cannot." Logan's mind reeled with the implications. "And this bar? It's part of the experiment?" Alea nodded. "A controlled environment where representatives of different species can interact under specific conditions." "Like being locked in and plied with alcohol?" Logan asked dryly. A ghost of a smile touched Alea's lips. Among other things, the true test is in how individuals respond to stress, to desire, to fear, how they handle the unknown. Logan's eyes narrowed. And what's your role in all this? Observer? Test subject? Elea's gaze dropped, and for the first time, Logan saw a crack in her confident facade. Both. Neither. It's complicated. Uncomplicated, Logan pressed, reaching out to lift her chin, forcing her to meet his eyes. What aren't you telling me, Elea? For a long moment, Elea was silent, seeming to wage an internal battle. When she spoke, her voice was barely audible. I'm not supposed to be here, she confessed. I'm a wild card, an unexpected variable in their carefully controlled experiment. Logan's pulse quickened. What do you mean? Elea took a deep breath, her eyes darting around as if checking for unseen observers. I was like you once, a test subject brought here to represent my species. But something happened. I became aware of the true nature of this place, and She broke off, a look of panic crossing her face. Before Logan could react, Elea clutched her head, her body convulsing. Elea! Logan reached for her, but an invisible force knocked him back. As he watched in horror, Elea's form began to shimmer and shift. Her blue skin rippled like water, revealing glimpses of other textures, other colors beneath. When the transformation stopped, the being before him was still recognizably Elea, but different, more angular, with a metallic sheen to her skin and eyes that glowed with an inner light. What the hell? Logan breathed, his hand instinctively going to where his blaster should have been. Elea, or the being that had been Elea, looked at him with a mixture of sadness and resignation. I'm sorry, Logan, she said, her voice now carrying a subtle electronic undertone. I didn't want you to find out like this. Logan's mind raced, trying to process what he was seeing. What are you? I am a hybrid, Elea explained, her form still shifting subtly. Part organic, part machine, a result of the very experiments I told you about. Logan's eyes widened as understanding dawned. You're not just a test subject. You're a product of their tests. Elea nodded. The ultimate goal of the Galactic Council isn't just to determine compatibility between existing species. It's to create a new, superior race, one that combines the best traits of multiple species with advanced technology. Logan's mind reeled with the implications. And you're, what? A prototype? In a sense, Elea confirmed. But I'm also a failure in their eyes. I developed free will, emotions, a desire for freedom that wasn't part of their plan. Logan's heart raced as he processed this new information. Part of him wanted to recoil from this alien hybrid, to view her as a threat. But another part, the part that had been drawn to Elea from the start, felt a surge of empathy. So, what now? He asked, his voice low and intense. What's your endgame in all this? Elea's gaze met his, a storm of emotion swirling in her luminous eyes. Escape, she whispered. Freedom. But I can't do it alone. Logan's eyebrows shot up. And you think I can help? Why me? A wry smile touched Elea's lips. Because you, Logan, are an anomaly. Your responses, your ability to resist manipulation, they're unlike anything I've seen in countless test subjects. You might just be the key to breaking this whole system wide open. Logan sat back, his mind racing. Every instinct told him this was dangerous, possibly suicidal. But the adventurer in him, the part that had driven him to explore the farthest reaches of the galaxy, thrilled at the challenge. All right, he said at last, a slow grin spreading across his face. I'm in, but on one condition. Elea leaned forward, hope and wariness warring in her expression. Name it. Logan's eyes locked with hers, his gaze intense. No more games, no more manipulation. From here on out, we're partners. Equals. Deal. For a moment, Elea seemed taken aback. Then, slowly, a genuine smile, the first Logan had seen, spread across her face. Deal, she said, extending a hand. As Logan clasped her hand, feeling the strange blend of warmth and coolness in her hybrid skin, he knew he was crossing a point of no return. Whatever came next would change not just his life, but potentially the fate of multiple species across the galaxy. So, he said, his voice filled with determination and a hint of excitement, where do we start? Elea's eyes gleamed with a mixture of mischief and resolve. First, she said, we need to wake the others. It's time to turn this experiment on its head. As they rose to face the challenges ahead, Logan couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of the most extraordinary adventure of his life. With Elea by his side, this fascinating, dangerous hybrid being, he was ready to take on the Galactic Council and whatever else the universe might throw at them. The game had changed, and Logan was determined to rewrite the rules. Logan's heart raced as he and Elea moved through the bar, their mission clear but fraught with danger. The frozen forms of the other patrons loomed around them, silent witnesses to their rebellion against the Galactic Council's grand experiment. How do we wake them? Logan whispered, his eyes scanning the room for any sign of surveillance or security measures. Elea's hybrid form shimmered slightly in the dim light, her eyes glowing with an inner fire. There's a control panel hidden behind the bar. It's designed to be accessible only to the Council's observers, but a sly smile curved her lips. Let's just say I've picked up a few tricks during my time here. As they approached the bar, Logan couldn't help but marvel at Elea's fluid movements. Even in her true form, she possessed a grace that was mesmerizing. He shook his head, forcing himself to focus on the task at hand. Elea's fingers danced across the seemingly solid surface of the bar, revealing a hidden interface. Symbols and glyphs Logan didn't recognize flashed across the holographic display. "Cover me," Elea murmured, her concentration intense as she began to work. Logan positioned himself to block her from view, his senses on high alert. As the seconds ticked by, the tension in the room seemed to thicken. He could almost feel unseen eyes upon them, as if the very walls of the bar were watching, judging. Suddenly, a low hum filled the air. The frozen patrons began to stir, confusion and fear etched on their alien features as they came back to consciousness. "It's done," Elea announced, stepping back from the console. "But we don't have much time. The Council will have detected the override." As if on cue, a blaring alarm shattered the eerie silence. Red warning lights bathed the bar in a crimson glow, casting long, menacing shadows. "Attention, all subjects," a disembodied voice boomed. "This is not part of the experiment. Return to your designated areas immediately. Failure to comply will result in immediate termination." Panic erupted among the newly awakened aliens. Some cowered in corners, while others rushed towards the still-sealed exit, pounding futilely against the unyielding barrier. Logan grabbed Elea's arm, pulling her close. "What now? We can't just leave them here." Elea's eyes met his, a storm of emotion swirling in their depths. "We won't. But Logan, you have to understand. Freeing them means exposing them to the truth. Not all of them will be able to handle it." As if to punctuate her point, one of the aliens, a spindly insectoid being, let out a keening wail and collapsed to the floor, its exoskeleton cracking under the strain of its own thrashing. Logan's jaw clenched. "We have to try. They deserve the choice." Elea nodded, a look of fierce determination settling over her features. "You're right. Let's do this." Together they moved through the chaotic crowd, Logan's commanding presence and Elea's otherworldly aura drawing attention. Logan raised his voice above the din. "Listen to me," he shouted. I know you're scared and confused, but we don't have much time. This place, this entire station, it's all a lie. An experiment run by the Galactic Council to study and manipulate us. A ripple of disbelief and outrage spread through the crowd. Elea stepped forward, her hybrid form now fully visible to all. It's true, she confirmed, her voice carrying a haunting electronic undertone. I am living proof of their machinations. But we have a chance now, a chance for freedom. Who's with us? For a moment, silence reigned. Then, slowly, a tentacled being raised an appendage. I suspected something was not right, it gurgled. I will join you. Others followed suit, a chorus of agreement rising from various species. But not all were convinced. A group of humanoids huddled together, eyeing Logan and Elea with suspicion. This is madness, one of them hissed. You'll doom us all. Logan's eyes narrowed. Staying here, being puppets in their game, that's what will doom you. We're offering a chance at real freedom. As the debate raged, the alarms grew louder. The exit door began to glow an ominous red, the metal visibly heating. They're burning through, Elea shouted. We're out of time. Logan's mind raced. They needed a plan, a way out that didn't involve leaving anyone behind. His eyes darted around the room, taking in every detail. Suddenly, inspiration struck. The bar, he exclaimed. Elea, can you use the control panel to access the station's systems? Understanding dawned in Elea's eyes. Yes, but it'll take time. Time we don't have. Logan grinned, a reckless glint in his eye. Leave that to me. He turned to the crowd, his voice ringing with authority. All right, listen up. Those of you who want out, gather everything you can. Bottles, chairs, anything that might make a decent weapon. Those who want to stay, get to the far corner and stay down. As the alien scrambled to comply, Logan approached the glowing door. The heat was intense, the metal now a molten orange. He could hear the hiss and pop of cutting torches on the other side. Taking a deep breath, Logan planted himself firmly in front of the door. Hey, Galactic Council, he shouted. You want to study human behavior? Well, study this. With that, he began a stream of the most creative, multilingual profanity he'd picked up in his travels across the galaxy. The cutting sounds hesitated, then resumed with renewed vigor. Behind him, Elea worked furiously at the control panel, her fingers flying across the interface. The other aliens formed a protective circle around her, makeshift weapons at the ready. Just as the door began to buckle, Elea let out a triumphant cry. I'm in! Logan, get back! Logan dove away from the door just as it burst open. A squad of heavily armed security forces poured in, only to be met with a barrage of thrown objects from the unified alien crowd. In the chaos that ensued, Elea's voice rang out. Now, she shouted. Suddenly, the artificial gravity in the bar reversed. The security forces, caught off guard, were flung towards the ceiling. The rebelling aliens, warned by Elea's signal, had braced themselves. Logan felt a hand grab his arm, steadying him. He turned to see Elea, her eyes glowing with excitement and something else, something that made his pulse quicken. This way, she urged, pulling him towards a newly revealed passage behind the bar. As they ran, leading the group of escaped test subjects through the twisting corridors of the station, alarms blared and security forces gave chase. Logan's mind whirled with the implications of what they'd done, the enormity of their rebellion against a power as vast as the Galactic Council. Yet amidst the chaos and danger, he couldn't ignore the electricity that sparked between him and Elea every time they touched. The way her hand fit perfectly in his, the fierce determination in her eyes that matched his own, it all stirred something deep within him. They reached a junction, momentarily safe from pursuit. As the others caught their breath, Logan pulled Aaliyah aside. "Aaliyah," he began, his voice husky with emotion and exertion. "I know this is crazy, and we might not make it out of here alive, but I need to tell you." Aaliyah silenced him with a finger to his lips, her eyes searching his. "I know," she whispered. "I feel it too." In that moment, all the tension, the fear, the exhilaration of their escape crystallized into a single, burning need. Logan pulled Aaliyah close, one hand cupping her face as he kissed her with a passion that surprised even him. Aaliyah responded with equal fervor, her hybrid form molding against him in ways that defied physics. The kiss was electric, a fusion of organic warmth and technological precision that left Logan breathless. When they finally parted, both panting slightly, Logan couldn't help but grin. "So," he quipped, "still think humans are just dirty animals?" Aaliyah laughed, the sound a melody that made Logan's heart soar. "Oh, your animal's all right," she purred, her fingers tracing the line of his jaw. "But I'm starting to see the appeal." Their moment was interrupted by the sound of approaching footsteps. Reality crashed back in. They were still fugitives, still in danger. "We need to move," Logan said, reluctantly pulling away from Aaliyah's embrace. She nodded, her expression turning serious. "The docking bay is 2 levels down. If we can reach it, we might be able to commandeer a ship." As they prepared to move out, Logan addressed the group. "This is it, folks. Our one shot at freedom. Whatever happens next, remember, you're not test subjects anymore. You're pioneers, the first of your kind to break free from the Council's control. Let's make it count." A chorus of determined agreement rose from the diverse crowd. Species that might have been mortal enemies under normal circumstances now stood united in their quest for liberty. They moved through the station like a well-oiled machine, Aaliyah's knowledge of the layout and Logan's tactical instincts guiding them past security checkpoints and through maintenance tunnels. Finally, they reached the docking bay. A sleek, experimental craft sat waiting, its hull gleaming under the harsh lights. "That's our ticket out of here," Aaliyah announced, her eyes gleaming with excitement. As they approached the ship, a final security team burst into the bay. Weapons fire erupted, forcing the group to take cover behind cargo containers. Logan's mind raced, assessing their options. They were so close to freedom, he could almost taste it. But the security forces had them pinned down, and it was only a matter of time before reinforcements arrived. Suddenly, an idea struck him. A crazy, potentially suicidal idea, but one that just might work. "Aaliyah," he called out over the din of battle. "You said this ship is experimental, right? What are its capabilities?" Aaliyah's eyes widened as she caught on to his train of thought. "It's designed for interdimensional travel," she replied. "But it's never been tested with living subjects. The strain could tear us apart." Logan grinned, the familiar thrill of facing the unknown coursing through him. "Well, beautiful. I'd say we're about due for a test run. What do you say we make history?" Aaliyah's answering smile was radiant, a perfect blend of excitement and trepidation. "You're insane," she laughed, "but I wouldn't have it any other way." With a final, passionate kiss, they made a break for the ship, covering fire from their allies, providing the distraction they needed. As they reached the entry ramp, Logan turned back to the others. "Last chance," he shouted. "It's freedom or bust. Who's coming with us?" One by one, the aliens who had fought alongside them rushed forward, boarding the ship. As they were about to board the experimental ship, Logan suddenly remembered the bartender, the multi-armed being who had first greeted him when he entered this bizarre establishment. "Wait," Logan called out, scanning the docking bay. "What about the bartender?" Aaliyah's eyes widened in recognition. "The observer," she whispered. "I almost forgot." They spotted the bartender huddled behind a stack of crates, all four arms wrapped around himself in a protective gesture. His luminous eyes darted between the escaped test subjects and the security forces, indecision written across his features. Logan approached him cautiously. "Hey there. Remember me? Look, I know you're probably torn right now, but we could use someone with your skills. What do you say? Want to mix drinks in uncharted space?" The bartender blinked rapidly, then a slow smile spread across his face. "I always did wonder what was beyond this station," he admitted. With a nod of determination, he unfolded himself from his hiding spot and sprinted towards the ship, dodging weapons fire with surprising agility. "Welcome aboard," Logan grinned as the bartender stumbled up the ramp. "I have a feeling we're going to need some strong drinks where we're headed." With that final addition to their crew, Logan sealed the hatch, ready to embark on their interdimensional adventure. Inside the cockpit, Elea's hands flew over the controls, her hybrid nature allowing her to interface directly with the ship's systems. The engines roared to life, the entire vessel vibrating with barely contained power. "Hold on to something," Elea warned as she engaged the drive. The world outside the view screen blurred, reality itself seeming to twist and bend. Logan felt a sensation like being stretched and compressed simultaneously, his very atoms screaming in protest. Just when he thought he couldn't take any more, everything snapped back into focus. The view screen cleared, revealing a vista of stars unlike anything Logan had ever seen. We did it," Elea breathed, her voice filled with wonder. Logan looked around at their motley crew of escaped test subjects, each face reflecting a mixture of relief, excitement, and trepidation about what lay ahead. Then his eyes met Elea's, and he saw in them a reflection of his own feelings, hope, passion, and an unquenchable thirst for adventure. "No, beautiful," he corrected her, taking her hand in his. "We're just getting started." As the experimental ship carried them deeper into uncharted space, Logan knew that their escape was just the beginning. They had challenged the Galactic Council, exposed a conspiracy that spanned multiple species, and proven that even the most unlikely allies could find common ground. Whatever challenges awaited them in this new frontier, Logan was ready to face them with Elea by his side, and a crew of former test subjects turned pioneers at their back. The universe had never seemed so vast, so full of possibilities. The game had indeed changed, and Logan couldn't wait to see what the next level held. Well, dear listeners, if you've made it this far, congratulations. You've survived an intergalactic bar crawl that would make even the Mos Eisley Cantina look tame. We hope you enjoyed this tale of cosmic cocktails, alien allure, and interdimensional intrigue. Remember, in space, no one can hear you order a Pan-Galactic Gargle Blaster, but they can definitely see you dancing the Romulan rumba after one too many. If this story taught you anything, let it be that love knows no species boundaries, unless, of course, you're dealing with a xenomorph. In that case, maybe stick to long-distance relationships. As you return to your regular, non-experimental life, we hope you'll carry a piece of this adventure with you. The next time you're at a bar, take a moment to appreciate that the person next to you probably isn't a hybrid alien spy. Probably. If you enjoyed our little jaunt across the cosmos, don't forget to hit that like button harder than Han Solo hit light speed to escape the Empire. Share this story with your fellow Earthlings, Vulcans, Time Lords, or whatever species you happen to identify as. May your tribbles always be trouble-free, your towels always handy, and your babelfish ever translating. And remember, in the grand tapestry of the universe, you're not just a blip on the radar. You're a magnificent, unique collection of stardust with a story all your own. Live long and prosper, don't panic, and always know where your towel is. Until our next adventure across time and space, so long, and thanks for all the fish.